Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. So I think my audio was a little bit whack there. Hope everybody can hear me. Again, this is another Q&A session. Um, Feel free to put in the chat in the message where you are watching from. Welcome again to Q&A session. This is a free service to our LEFORA Filipino nurse to U.S. community. A it's a free to join. Feel free to join LEFORA Filipino Nurse to US. It's the biggest Facebook community for international nurses coming to the United States. And I am one of the admins. My name is Kaye. I have been a nurse in the United States for 20 years now. From the first time that I signed my contract, been a US RN for 20 years. So again, I came to the United States as a direct hire nurse in New York City. And after that, actually during that, pinagsabay ko, I did at the same time, I was a traveling nurse. Um, and counting on 17 years of travel nursing now. If there's an OG traveler, probably OG Filipino traveler, yeah, that's me. I'm old. so so I'm happy to share my experiences with you as a traveling nurse, an international nurse, and as an immigrant nurse, and as well as a nurse who have moved 14 times in the United States of America. If you look at the number one stressful part of a person's life, number one says they're moving. Okay, moving. So for me, I think I have mastered moving already at this point of my life. So literally, I can help you move from one place to another in the next day. If you want to arrive in the United States, everything is all set in day one. You can feel free to reach out to me. I can move you the next day. Just in the United States. Going outside the US, I'm not comfortable yet, but we'll get there. So hopefully one day we'll be able to serve our communities in UK, in Dubai, in Saudi Arabia, and all other parts of the world. So to broaden our help for them. Again, thank you for joining. My name is Kay. I am a LEFORA admin. LEFORA is a Filipino nurse to US community page, resources for international nurses. It is the biggest with 230,000 members. And I'd like to thank everyone who's part of it, especially our moderators and admins who have been nonstop in maintaining the integrity of that organization. Of the group, no? So the community and preserving and protecting our Filipino nurses and also our other IENs. We appreciate everyone who contributes their stories, their experiences in the group, so we can have collaborative information that will benefit our nurses. Again, this is all general information. Anything coming out from this webinar or session is are all non-legal professional advices and non-professional financial advices. So if you need some guidance that is based on your current experience of a case-to-case basis, then you should be consulting a legal professional advice, okay, and also legal financial advice. Again, my name is Kay. I'm a registered nurse like you, just giving back to help our community of international nurses and our local nurses. So please feel free to put in the chat where you're from, and I'd be happy to give a shout out and to see where are you guys are from. Let's see a question here. Fortnite, big man. Hi, can you help me move? Easily, you're a Fortman guy. I'm a Fortnite guy. So I guess it will be the easiest to move. Those people who are gamers are very good to pick up on things. So I'd be happy to help you out, buddy. All right. Let's see our questions. I'm going to start with the funny questions first. This is a very interesting question. Ma'am, may galit po ba kayo sa agencies? Palagi kasi kayo nagpo-post ng negative sa mga yan. In English, do you have anger? Are you angry with agencies because you're always posting negative about them? Clarification: I'm not posting. I'm not upset or angry with agencies. My anger is reserved only for the people who I value, but for people who I don't think I value or has no relationship with me, I don't spend my energy on them. However, I do spend my energy on good recruiters, okay, Good recruiters, good agencies, and good employer. If you're a good agency, good employer, and good recruiter, feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to market you as free as I can and use my platform to uplift those people doing who are doing their best to promote the best practice in recruitment and ethical practices. Again, there is no perfect agency, but for me, the best agency is the one, or the best employer based agency is the one that if there is some problem that will arise, they are going to do the right thing and not cover up for their mistakes and do another mistake of called lying. And then at the end, the nurse will suffer. Okay, so for me, I promote ethical recruitment. Maybe a nurse, maybe an agency, maybe an employer, maybe a headhunter. Okay, as long as that person is doing ethical recruitment practice, I support that. Okay, not only agencies. So if I'm pro nurse, well, as long as the nurse is promoting ethical recruitment, the nurse is not defrauding the employer, it's not lying on the resume. I am for you. Okay, if you're an agency recruiter that is doing the right practice, ethical practice, I am for you. Okay, I'm not upset with any agency that is bad, because I reserve my energy on those people who are doing the right thing, and we will promote those people who are doing the right thing. So they need spotlights. Okay, and a lot of them are smaller companies as well who are doing the right thing. So we like to hear out. Oh, my headphones came off. Hold on for a second. That was cute. Okay, there you go. So my advocacy is again promotion of ethical practices. If you're a good if you're new in the industry and you're doing the right thing, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be happy to be your free consultant. I'll be happy to be your free advisor. I'd be happy to be your free marketer. Okay, because we want to promote those good people who's doing the right thing. Sometimes they just don't have resources for marketing, so I'd be happy to use my platform and promote those people who's doing the right thing. Okay. Again, I have no angst with these companies. All right, no angst. I'm not upset with them. Um, just saying that we will promote what is the right thing for everybody, because I believe that partnership a good partnership of a nurse and an employee and a recruiter will always lead to a successful deployment and assignment. So I always believe it's a partnership between agencies, nurses, and recruiters for them to land that job, because the job is coming from the employer, and a lot of agencies are applying for that job or seeking talent for that job. And I want to make sure that we emphasize that the partnership of a good employer, good agency, and good nurse should result in a good business partnership. So and successful employment of the nurse. Okay, so that's my insight on that. Okay. All right. So yeah. So thank you very much for those people who's commenting. If you believe that you had a great experience, or there was an experience that was not perfect, however the agency or employer or recruiter addressed it with full transparency and the right thing to do, feel free to shout out for them in the chat. Feel free to write to comment on the chat if you think that these agencies did the right thing despite the challenges. They still did the right thing. Okay, an example of that is if the company or the direct employer abandoned you, but then this recruiter said, the company rescinded their offer, it will give you the release letter because this is not your fault. Okay, so that is the right thing to do. However, a bad recruiter will say your employer rescinded their offer, they abandoned, but if you go somewhere else, we're going to charge you a breach fee. Well, this is a direct hire, right? Hindi naman kasalanan ng nurse, right? So the nurse has it's no fault. Why are you asking for breach fees again? You are a direct hire, no? Um, and another example of ethical recruiter there is they petition for I-140, and you are current priority date now, and months and months and months and months of waiting of being a current, this the staffing agency still not giving you job despite you being current and being promised a job. And then all of a sudden they say you cannot wait anymore because you see jobs everywhere. And then the staffing company will say like, well, you have to pay for breach fee because you are terminating your contract. Well, hello, you promised me job. My priority date is current. You're delaying it. You have no job for me. So guess who breached the contract, right? So again, these are the common examples of unethical. Okay, it does not even to be illegal yet, right? Unethical pa lang ang usapan dito. All right, so again, feel free to shout out those great and good agencies. We're not talking about perfect agencies. We're not talking about perfect employers. We're talking about great companies or organization who are doing the right thing despite the challenges that is happening. Okay. Next question. Mom, I was removed from LEFORA. Okay, I've been receiving a lot of this question. I mean, messages about them being removed from LEFORA because they've either violated some rules. Okay, so again, if you were removed from the fora, two things that may happen. Okay, if either you are breaking rules, or B, we are implementing, because it's retrogression, there's a lot of scammers that's happening right now. I receive a lot of scamming tactics already, even on my direct message, right? I'm not even looking for a job, but then I get like spammed already by scammers. Apparently, they're in the fora. Okay, so we are very strict in enforcing that your profile should be verifiable. Okay, verifiable, which means that there should be at least a sense of you, at least para bang there's a life in your profile right now. If you look at it when you join the group, that you are either a nurse applying, or you're in a nurses processing to US, or you're a nurse or recruiter or an immigration lawyer or a family of a nurse who are looking for resources. Okay, so again, if you are applying, if you're joining the fora, we're welcoming you, but we have to put strict rules because there are a lot of scammers, especially right now. It's retrogression. A lot of nurses are so desperate to come to the United States, and there are a lot of predatory practices happening right now, currently. Okay, so to protect our community, unfortunately, we will have to enforce a lot of rules for your protection too. We protect you. Unfortunately, the cons of that is there will be rules that will be needed to follow. If you were removed from the fora, if you don't know the reason, wag kayo muna magalit, no? But just to let you know, the fora admins are people, are human beings. So we process this manually if we're going to remove people or not, unless it was AI or algorithm triggered by Facebook. So we cannot do anything. For those people who are posting also in the fora, that's automatically declined. I'd like to let you know that a lot of this post we don't manually approve or decline. Sometimes Facebook algorithms itself removes your post without us even seeing it. And then you come to us that, hey, ma'am, my post in the fora got, declined, and, nakakawalang gana. Okay, 95% of disputes are actually miscommunication, right? So just to FYI there, don't blame us, don't shoot us, because majority of these things that are being declined is an algorithm of Facebook. If your post or comment has like tags or like that the Facebook feels like that is a scam because the letters were put in a specific way, or there's letters and numbers or combination that were put in a specific way, it's automatically being declined by Facebook. Again, there's a lot of algorithms by Facebook that we have no control of, okay? So please, before kayo magalit or you get upset with us for declining you or removing you, I'd like to encourage, people to be assertive in forwarding your concerns rather than us being upset or there's no reason to be upset with us. We're all volunteers. We don't get rich by removing you. Right? So, hindi namin ikayayaman yung pag-decline or pag-approve or pag-decline sa inyo. So, there's no incentive for us to decline. There's no incentive for us to remove you. However, there are rules to be followed, and it's something that will be respected by me as well. Okay? Hindi lang kayo. All right. Let's go over the comments. Abigail Dizon, hi, good morning, good evening, and good afternoon. What specific agency can you recommend to us new USRNs? Okay. Abigail, if you're coming from outside the United States, the first thing that I would say is always look for direct hire, because these are the people who's really making a decision right away if you have deployment or not. If they're gonna say to you that we're not accepting you, then that's it. No, wala kang job. You know already that you need to look for the next one. However, if you go for staffing companies, majority of the staffing companies, what they do is they pull, sabihin nila that we're gonna take you, but we're gonna still place you somewhere else. Unfortunately, hindi sila ang main decision maker, because the main decision maker when it comes to staffing model, is the employer, the facility itself. The facility itself will decide if they're going to take you or not. What if you're already signed with a staffing company and the facility says you didn't pass us? Okay, so then now you're ending up looking for another one. Okay, the good thing about that, if you go for staffing, is if the staffing company has a lot of accounts or reach, then there's always a possibility that there might be one or two jobs that is open for you. Unfortunately, because there's so many pool, so there's a lot of people ahead of you. So it can be people from a year ago who's still been waiting. So mahaba ang pila sa staffing. So for me, I'd rather wait for direct hire. If I see, oh, tomorrow there is a job event, I'll go there for that employer. Okay, if it's direct hire, because the direct hire, sila talaga ang decision maker. Who will they take? Now, if they take a bad hire, then that's not your fault now, because that's their screening process, right? So, but it's always nice to also know exactly where you're going, because as a new nurse, what you want to do is, you start your foot on the right thing. Know where you're going, para alam mo yung expectation sa'yo. Because if you don't know where you're going, a lot of staffing nurses end up in horrible working situation, and you don't want your first job to show you what are the wrong things and how to lose your license, right? So if you are a new nurse, I'd recommend, going through, like, have a good experience and find a good employer, because as a new RN, what you don't want to happen is pinaghirapan mo yan and biglang mawawala lang ang lisensya mo. All right. So I always recommend for new USRNs is try to get experience first, and then look for an agency to get you here, because what you don't want to do is you have no experience and you come here and you make mistake just because you followed your colleague who was doing the wrong thing. Unfortunately, your colleague has experience and know how to go around it. But if you're coming here, tapos sabihin mo na EB3 ka, and then you commit a crime by accident, then that is a problem, okay? Locals here are locals. They're not under green card. No? So, mga citizen here, majority of American nurses are citizens of America. So if you are a green card and you're going to do the wrong thing and something happens to the patient, that's going to put your license to risk, your patient's life to risk, and that's also putting your green card situation to risk. Okay, your green card status, especially during right now. So it's nice to go get your experience right now. Why? Because the people who arrived here, majority of those nurses who arrived in the United States arrived during pandemic processing, which is 2020, sila nag-process. And then they are 2020, 21, they started processing their U.S. immigration papers. And then they arrived here 2022. Okay, so kung 3 years ang contract, majority of those nurses who arrive in 2022 and 2023 will be finishing their contracts in 2025 and 2026. So a bulk of those positions will be open again. All right, so if you're listening to this is a greatest tip right now. If you're thinking what's the best thing to do, get an experience right now, because those vacancies will open up. Okay, there was a massive immigration of nurses and massive migrating nurses to the United States back in 2021 and 2022, because those were the prime time that the visas were allocated to them. So thousands and thousands of them came 22 and 21, right? So they will be done with their contract right now in 26, and it's a perfect time to have an experience right now in 25. So when 26 comes, you already have 1 year experience, and there's a lot of vacancy out there. Okay, and all right. Let me see the other questions here. Let's go with the banners. Let's see. All right, quick another question here. Dun po sa hindi nag-sign kasi initially abandoned first employer, but there's a new employer but different requirements na. But agency initially insists to sign but applicant declined kasi iba na requirements. The question is, okay po ba yun? Okay, this is a great question. A lot of people are actually their initial offer by the U.S. employer got rescinded. So looking at the situation, it looks like the nurse is a direct hire, which had previously offered. I mean, was previously offered by an employer, and then now it was rescinded na yung offer nila, which means they canceled the offer already, and now the agency where they applied for insists that they sign a new contract, okay, but the applicant declined kasi iba na requirement. So is it okay to decline that? Absolutely. If this is a direct hire and they are saying that this you are going to this place, okay, and it didn't say there that you can be transferred anywhere, so you can decline it, okay, but again, your contract, your agreement needs to be reviewed, okay. Please consult a lawyer to review your case. If you decline, do I have to pay for my agency, right? Do I have to pay anything to that agency who abandoned? Majority of the time of direct hire, I would say 99% of the people that I look at, they were direct hire, and reviewed their job offers. um, they were not given that flexibility to be transferred to different place. Okay, so again, anything new contract, you don't need to agree to that. Anything that you need to sign that is different from the initial sign, you don't need to agree to that. So what will happen kung hindi mo pinirmahan yung bago? So the old contract will still prevail. Okay, but if there is no more old contract because the initial employer terminated it, so the agency technically terminated, or the employer terminated that. So there is no more nothing to enforce. Okay. So again, if you're given new contract which is different from the one that they initially gave, and you can always decline that. And if you decline that, what should happen is balik tayo sa original. Pero kung wala ng original, it was terminated already by the original employer. So there's nothing to enforce, right? So again, but your case needs to be reviewed. If you're under staffing company, okay, then it will be definitely needs to be reviewed, because with staffing company, they're allowing you to be transferred to different places. I'm a staffing company nurse for many years as a traveling nurse, and I can be assigned to different, but my contract is every 3 months. And if you told me I'm going to that company, to that facility for 3 months, and then all of a sudden you said no more, then okay, I'm still under that agency, but not necessarily under contract. Okay, I can still be under their pool now, pooling. So now the question is, did you sign a pooling agreement or did you sign a job agreement? Okay, or a staffing agreement, because pooling agreement or manpower pooling is very different from actual staffing na may job. Okay, so again, your case needs to be reviewed. Majority of the time when this is a direct hire and you are being asked to sign a new contract that is very different from the other one, majority of this is you don't need to sign another one. And again, majority of new contracts, you don't need to agree to it if you don't like that. Okay, but it can be negotiated. If they're giving you 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 new terms, okay, maybe one term is okay, maybe 4 terms is not. So just say that I agree to this 1 term, but the 4 terms I don't agree. Okay? So please revise this new contract. Okay? So or say they gave you 5 different new terms and you only agree to the 4 of it, pero yung isa, ayaw mo, no? Sabihin mo, you can reply, thank you for this new contract that you submitted to me. I am agreeing only to this, to this, to this, and to this. And I decline this. Can you please give me a revised contract, okay? Or a revised job offer? Because this is not what I agree initially, okay? And majority of the direct hire, you took it because you know you're going to that place and you probably researched that place. So if we're gonna send you somewhere else, you don't have to agree if you don't like that new place, right? So if you have an experience, absolutely, you should sell yourself in a better way. And mas maganda nga humanap ka ng bagong employer kasi by then is the prevailing wage will be based from the current time, not 2 years ago when you signed 2 years ago. Okay, so there's a tendency na tataas pa yung salary mo if you look for a new employer. Okay, but again, depends on which year you're talking about. Kasi 2020, 21, mataas ang bigayan sa mga nurses, no? 2022 medyo bumababa na in 2023. So the statement na it can go up higher is we're talking about if your salary was not based on that COVID premium price. Okay. All right. All right. I'm gonna go over some chat here. Okay. Number one, custard cookie fun. Hi. Name a cookie for our edit. I don't know what you're talking about, cookie fan, and I don't know your cookie. Name a cookie for an edit. I don't know. Okay. All right, let me go over some of the questions again. This is the last one. Oh, sorry. Athena Wilson say, super legit po. Are they hiring, ma'am? I think she's pertaining for PRS Global. Athena, just for everyone's knowledge and everyone's learning, um, staffing companies, agencies here in the United States, they will there will be job openings here in the United States for sure. And this agency, staffing or direct hire, will always have a consistent opening. Pag nag-open ng job sa United States, which happens year-round, okay, those agencies, staffing companies, or recruitment companies will start picking those jobs up. So what I'm telling here is, if you applied today, let's say to a company in May, okay, pag sinabi sa yung wala, try mo uli next month. Baka meron sila. Okay, kung wala pa rin next month, try mo uli sa July, right? So a staffing company or recruitment agency telling you right now that they don't have a job right now for you, it doesn't mean they don't have a job for you forever. So what I recommend is, you can always submit a new resume to them if they want every month, or give your resume to them but don't sign any contracts yet until they have a job, but your name is on the data nila, diba? So just in case if you're considering that agency recruiter, so it's best that to submit what you can, and then later on sabihin nila, oh, maybe we will have a job around August. Okay, so at least your papers there already, yung mga requirements mo, but you don't need to agree on them. Okay, you don't need to agree on anything, you don't need to sign anything. So if those are direct hire, it's okay to submit your resume, but you should not be signing anything kung wala pang actual job, unless you're willing to wait and you trust them. Let's say, we have a job for you, not now, but maybe August, because our prevailing wage is still ongoing. Sabihin nila, so how guarantee naman, are they guaranteeing the August prevailing wage will be ready and you can be filed? If they can guarantee that, so sure. If you trust them, sure. But if this agency is notorious for lying to nurses, then weigh in your risk. Are you going to wait? Are you gonna hold on to their word kung notorious na sinungaling? Diba? Alam mo nang naliloko yung mga iba eh. Nagtaka ka pa bakit ka niloko. Paano mo sinabi, Ma'am, may dine-date po ako, I'm dating this guy, pero nasabihan na ako ng mga kaibigan ko na cheater yun eh, 'di ba? Ng babae or 'di ba? Or ng lalaki. But then tinuloy mo pa rin, nagpakasal ka pa. Nagpakasal ka pa. Pinipigilan ka na nga ng mga kaibigan mo, 'di ba? And then after 1 month or 2 months, umiiyak ka, nagrereklamo ka sa mga kaibigan mo kasi no, friendship niloko ko. Friendship, my husband or my spouse or my wife cheated on me. Umiiyak ka. Eh, di ba sinabihan ka na na nagsisinungaling yan? Diba? So it's just similar situation. If you want to trust them, then trust them. But if you see a lot of people saying that these people has been lied on or they were not transparent, so weigh your risk. If you're a high risk taker, then move forward. But don't complain if they lied on you. Simple, simple life rules. Okay. Um, and see. Athene also, she said in a comment, so far, all that I know, and for me who personally experienced them, yes, I think so, po. They are continuously hiring. So, again, continuously hiring, not necessarily continuously having an open job, okay? So, always ask if this is a direct hire, make sure that you ask, do you have a prevailing wage ready? And if there is an actual opening job. Sometimes it will be helpful to ask, bago yung job, when was this job offered? When is this job open? No. Pag sinabi nila, oh, we started hiring yesterday. We just started posting yesterday. And the next thing you ask is, how many nurses do you need? Okay, if they say we're looking for 100 nurses, and yeah, so pang ilan ako? And they say to you that, oh, you are our 50th applicant, but so far we have accepted and hired about 10 so far. Okay, so there is a big chance that you can get in. Okay, what you don't want to happen is they've been hiring for the same company for 1 year and they're hiring like 500 nurses. Guess what? There is no such thing as 500 nurses who left that specific company. you an international nurse. Okay, because international nurses have contracts. So if a company is hiring 500, 1,000 nurses, international nurses, no, they're hiring that amount of numbers, you expect yourself to be waiting in line. That there'll be one time that you will not, pag current and priority date mo, maybe there you will have to wait because the line is so long. I have not heard a single staffing company here who would hire 1,000 nurses at one time. Okay? Ang mangyayari dyan, kung lahat kayo ma-approve at one time, guess what will happen pagdating nyo ng Amerika? Wala kayong trabaho. Kulang yung hours niyo. And marami dito nagre-report sa amin that this company, direct hire, hired 100 nurses. I'm like, for what hospital? And you look at the hospital. This hospital is at 300 bed capacity. Are you telling me each nurse will have 3 patients? Diba? And you're talking about international. What happened to the American nurses? Are they firing all American nurses? So what happened to that? When I look at the hospital, it was a small community hospital, and this recruiter was hiring 100 nurses daw ang need nila. Guess what? Some of them were not filed, and some of them arrived in the United States, and they were not given full-time jobs. Some of them, like say, ma'am, wala na kaming hours dito kasi ang dami nilang hinire. We are only doing like 2 times a week. Paano naman yung sahod namin? Ang mahal-mahal ng bayad sa rent dito. We're paying $2,000 a month sa rent. And our income is only 500 a week because kulang yung hours namin. Always research your employer. Always research those people who's offering you a job. If that employer is offering 300, there is a 300 job opening for a specific hospital in the United States or 100 job opening for one community hospital in the United States, magtaka kayo. If you're the first one online, fine. But if you're going to tell me you're the 90th nurse who applied and you're going to a small community hospital and lahat kayo hinire at the same time, in a short period of time, magtaka kayo. Either baka gagawin sa inyo is they're gonna batch you. Batching means 100 ang nag-apply, mag-apply, ang ipa-file ang I-140 will be just maybe this month will be 10, maybe in 3 months will be another 10, maybe in 6 months will be another 10, maybe next year will be another 10. Ang haba ng pila. So always ask, how many nurses do you need? How many are you hiring? How many na ay natanggap? How long has this job been offered? And also, are you doing batching of filing? Pag sinabi nila, we're not doing batching, but then later on, binatch ka, then there is a misrepresentation of that job. So make sure you have all those in written, okay? On writing. When you're talking to a recruiter, always have everything in writing because recruiters sometimes can sell things to you just to get their quota. Okay, sometimes, I'm not saying all of them, but we have heard a lot of nurses being offered something that is fake or fraudulent marketing just because the recruiter has a quota to meet. Kailangan niya makapagpapirma. And a lot of, everybody knows this happens in a lot of sales industry, okay? Sales, either selling you something or selling you a job. All right? So may binibenta sa'yo, baka may quota yan, may commission yan. Okay? Abigail, you're from the Philippines. Thanks for watching. Ellen Tolentino, watching from Illinois. Thanks for joining me, Ellen, and good morning to you. Okay, nasan pa yung ibang mga question? Okay, Alondra, thanks for joining. Need po ba may 100 bed capacity po yung facility ng work experience dito sa Philippines and need po 2 years? Alondra, the preference if you need a specific bed capacity or at least 2 years is mostly not a mandatory requirement for USCIS application. Okay, however, this is a preference only by the hospital, which means I prefer this, okay? But can you look for nursing jobs in the United States even without 100 bed capacity or 2 years experience? The answer is yes. You can find, okay? But the thing is, sino yung nag-hire sa'yo and ano yung qualifications mo? So there's a lot of people without experience, okay? So the bigger the pool of nurses na walang experience. Now, who has the smaller pool? The smaller pool of nurses are those with experience, okay? With at least 2 years experience in the high demand specialties like ICU, like ER, that med surg, psych nursing, okay? So a lot of the employers in the United States would like to hire those people. So maliit yung pool. So ngayon, piliin mo sa mas malaking chance na ma-hire ng mga tao na nasa smaller pool rather than an ocean of applicants. Okay? So if I'm the employer, where will I pick the fastest? If I need a nurse, I will go to the small pond. I mean small pool of nurses go, right? Because I know these people have experience already. So ang tawag doon is filtering. So if and there is always an algorithm right now. A lot of these HR picking of applicants are actually computerized na. As soon as clinic nila, one click with experience, out ka na agad. Okay? All right? So, pinifilter nila. And this is not uncommon, if you go to, let's say, Airbnb, it's the same concept, I am filtering, I like lake house, I like a hotel, I like a condo. It's the same sample. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to Airbnb and try looking for a specific place to stay. This is not a paid advertisement by Airbnb, and there's no monetary compensation. I'm not advertising them, but I'm just giving you a sample on how filter works that is applicable in our daily situation or our personal life. So, example, you go to Airbnb, you can filter already the houses that you want to go. So the same thing with HR. So if the employer is looking for a good applicant, filter na nila. Once they check off that box that says with experience, tanggal ka na. Okay? Now, in terms of 100 bed capacity or 500 bed capacity, a lot of hospitals would want someone who has good acute care setting experience. Okay, acute. So majority of our hospitals in the Philippines is thankfully tumatanggap ng mga trauma patient. Even the small community hospital are accepting trauma patient. So what you want to do is, it's not really in the bed capacity, however, on the acuity of the patients that you're receiving. Okay, some people just say, or some employers will just say, we just need 100 bed capacity, because sometimes it's imposing that 100 bed capacity can mean that it is, you know, an acute care setting with a bigger capacity. While the smaller hospitals does not have that sometimes sophisticated equipment. But however, when you look at when you look at the acuity of the patients that we handle, hey, we handle trauma patient, you know, we handle acute care setting, right? We might have 2 ICU beds or 3 ICU beds or 4 ICU beds. We might not have 100 bed capacity, but we're handling acute and critical care patients. Okay? So, again, so when you're making a resume, mas maganda kung ilalagay mo level 1 trauma. In the United States, there's a thing called level trauma, okay? I'm gonna show you that, okay? Category. Right. Just give me a second. I'm gonna try to pull that out for you. All right, so I'm gonna share this screen. Okay. All right, so there is what do you call this one? In the United States, we actually categorize trauma. Okay, if you are level 1 trauma, you can see here the level 1 trauma is someone that has like the most coverage. Okay, 24-hour coverage by general surgeons. We always have a what do you call this one? Yung level 1 trauma, you need to be able to bring the patient there, level 1, in 30 minutes. You should be able to bring those patients in the OR, kasi trauma surgeries, or, you know, these are your highest level or tier experience. If you're coming from a level 1 trauma hospital and you're an ER nurse or an OR nurse in a level 1 trauma, or your ICU nurse or med-surg nurse in a level 1 trauma, which means that you are capable, nakalagay dito, providing total care for every aspect of injury. So from prevention to rehab. So it means that the acuity of these patients that you're handling is very critical or can be critical. Okay, so there can be an adult and also pediatric level 1. So you have to make sure that your experience is similar to this. So for me, if I'm the hiring employer, for me, the most important thing that I'm going to look at is your skills checklist. Okay, again, skills checklist, we discussed this in the previous webinar or our Q&A session. So there's also a level 2 trauma. Okay, so what happened in here is may 24-hour coverage pa din, but sometimes they might have to be referring to a level 1. So they can handle right now stabilize, and then but there are certain cases that they cannot handle and will divert that to the level 1. But sometimes level 2 trauma, they will take it primarily to stabilize the patient because it's critical, and then they will transfer to a level 1. Okay, because they might not have the resources available for a trauma patient. Okay, so level 3, meron sila din na, ang tawag dito, na level 3 is less, mas mababa siya because they will have less severe, okay? Less severe patients. Again, majority of this level 3 and level 2 are your smaller community hospitals, okay? And there's level 4, level 5. So again, if you are coming from a level 1 trauma hospital, sometimes we call this tertiary hospital in the Philippines. So this is something that you want to translate in English setting, on the US setting, which is level 1 trauma. Again, if you are coming from a tertiary hospital, and then what you want to do is you convert that wordings into proper, like, trauma level 1. Okay, mas maganda yun sa resume. Okay, it's not that you're lying, you're not lying, but it's just the truth that your experience is similar or equated to level 1 trauma in the United States. A lot of our nurse leaders in the United States, they don't have that knowledge that it's called tertiary or secondary hospital. It's the same thing. We don't call here elementary, right? Elementary. We most commonly say grade school, grade school, or middle school or high school. All right. So bihira dito magsasabi sila, anong year mo na sa high school? They're gonna say, what level are you in your high school? We're gonna say, oh, I'm freshman. I'm sophomore. I'm junior. Or I'm senior. Rarely you will hear kids here will say, fourth year ako, or third year ako, right? So there are, again, American jargons that easily be understood by a lot of employers, US employers, that you might want to translate. Again, as long as it's equivalent to it, you're not lying. Okay, so again, acuity of that experience is the most important thing, rather than the bed capacity, in my opinion. But it's always nice to have the most bed capacity if you want to target good employers. Okay. All right, Iluv Rolim from Ohio. Thanks for joining and good morning to you. I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right. Iluv Rolim. All right. Okay. All right. So it says here, Truth Gamer say, "Can I play with you?" Hi. Can everybody like report that person, please? All right, Patrick Jeff says, well, good morning, Patrick, or good evening or good afternoon. So, hi, Ma'am Kay, regarding sa travel nursing po, any pros and cons? I heard po mas binibigyan ng higher acuity. Any bad experience from other hospitals? Thanks you, Ma'am Kay. Okay, Patrick, when I started my travel nurse experience long time ago, I started it before 2010 pa. So we were not discriminated. Okay, well, travel nurses back then were not discriminated primarily because our salaries were really not that transparent and outside, in public, right? It's not in public. So we were not. Unfortunately, when more transparency, salary transparency came out, when it started, of course, the peak of everybody using the app, sharing information, Facebook, 2014, mas madaling na i-share yung mga information about travel nursing, which is a good thing, right? So everybody had the opportunity to do travel nursing. And that's actually the time back in 2014, 2015 when I see and observe a lot more discrimination when it came to travel nursing assignment. I personally have experienced that they told me, "Hey, Kay, since you're the higher paying nurse here, you take this patient, relieve her from that, so she'll be free." And I'm like, "Did you just say relieve her from so she'll be free?" But I just finished my case too. And then say, relieve that other one too after you finish that, so she can be free too. And I'm like, did you just say everybody's free except me? Right? So, I just keep quiet to myself. I know there that was not right. However, I choose my battles. At the early part of my life, I want to build more experience. So you know what? Heck, I'll take this. I came here to work. I came here to learn. And my goal, why I took these jobs at the beginning of my career, is to learn and get more experience on my end. So for me, sure, I came here to work, I came here to earn money, and most importantly, I came to experience. So it was a win-win situation for me if I will have to handle the bigger experience, the bigger load, or is gonna contribute to my experience better. Okay, so I'm like, no big deal. As long as you're there, I'm gonna ask you questions, no, and if I ask for help, you're gonna be there, right? So nowadays 2020, of course everybody saw how much travel nurses make. Well, I'm not going to lie to you that a lot of people have feedback that they've received higher acuity or more workload just because they are travel nurses. Now my advice to you, if you're experiencing that, is I would reach out to my recruiter and express this situation, and probably the recruiter will ask the man will talk to the manager, okay, or the company, not necessarily the recruiter, but a good agency will advocate for fairness and equality as well, and they can talk to the manager. If this happened only once, I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. Okay, but if this is constantly happening, repetitive, and there's actual evidences that you can provide to your recruiter that these are factual, that they have been giving me this amount and they have that, ako lang yung nagtatrabaho, lahat sila nakaupo. Well, again, choose your battles first. Do you want to have an experience? If the answer is yes, then it's actually advantage for you. Okay. But if you are not on that goal and you just want to have fair and equality, well, something that you won't need to talk with your recruiter, but at the same time, you need to show evidences and be factual rather than being subjective that he say, she say lang ang mangyayari. So maganda, you present some experiences, and then the recruiter can see that and validate that these are actual evidences, and maybe they can raise it up to the management of the hospital. I'm pretty sure the management of the hospital don't want a discrimination lawsuit. Right? I'm gonna tell you that no hospital would want a discrimination lawsuit against them. Okay, so I'm pretty sure that the risk manager of that hospital would say, okay, let's try to do something right here. Okay, so again, it's not your problem, or it's not your job to fix people. Okay, your job to go to that hospital is to do the job that they're expecting of you, and that is not to solve their problem. Your job is not to solve the hospital's staffing problem. Your job is not to solve people or human resource problem, and it's not your job to fix people. Okay, so that is the management's job to address concerns reflecting their workers. Okay, so again, but you need to address it in a legal and proper way, on a proper way. Again, um, so that's my insight on that. Thanks for sharing that question. So pros and cons again. Pros of travel nursing. I'm a product of it. You start with a goal, and if you have a strong financial goal and strong experience goal, and if you want to retire young, work smart, not hard. As you can see on my bottom screen here, work smart, not hard. As long as you analyze the situation, do a cost analysis study, and see what are the job opportunities out there. Travel nursing, it has a lot of things to offer. Okay, you can hit three birds at the same time, gaining experience as fast as you can, upskilling yourself, because not all hospitals are built equally. Not all hospitals will have the same experience that they're going to give you. um, so if you want to build your resume faster and with some financial incentive to it and ability to see the world outside. So for me, personal growth has helped me tremendously by traveling. No, so because I meet a lot of people. If you can tolerate a lot of BS, you are growing maturely. Okay. All right. Next question. Hi ma'am, ask ko lang po sana if ang signing on bonus need na ba naka-indicate sa offer? Kasi yung sa akin, wala po nakalagay sa offer. Then in-ask the recruiter, ang sabi niya, meron daw po 1,000 na signing bonus. All right, thanks for this question, because a lot of recruiters will say anything just to make you sign. And then when you look at the contract, wala. If it's not on the contract, it's not valid. If it's not in the contract, it's not legally binding. Okay. However, if you are signing to this company just because you were enticed by that $1,000, make sure that you're having that in writing multiple times. Okay. So if that recruiter send you, hey, there's a sign-in bonus, what you want to do is create a reply email, and not in any like group chat or whatever, Facebook chat or what. It has to go through directly their email with the domain of that company. Okay, so pag sinabi kunwari, hey, I'm sending you this email, I'm sending you this offer, pero sa text message lang or sa WhatsApp, what you want to do is create an email, ask the guy, hey, can I have your email for me to send your so my documents? Okay, so that guy will have to send, that recruiter will have to send um, their um, their email address, and make sure look at the domain. The domain is yung nakalagay doon, kunyari, recruiter@agency.com. Okay, so yun yung domain. Dapat nandun yung pangalan. Ngayon, pag pinadala sa'yo on the personal email lang, not using the company or organization email, what you want to ask is, hey, you send me your email, but this is personal email. Do you have an email for your company also? Just to be sure. No. If that person is saying, we don't use a domain, we use our personal emails, and then you ask, just to verify what is that you are an employee of this company that you're recruiting for. Ngayon, pag sinabi nila na hindi, headhunter lang ako, that is your red flag. A headhunter cannot offer you something that is not in the contract. Okay? Again, a headhunter is not part of the employee. It's not a part of the employer. So pag sinabi niya, headhunter lang ako, I'm not an employee of that company, then I would not agree on that. Okay? So what you want to do is inquire directly to the employer. Hey, the headhunter said this, and they're offering me a sign-in bonus, but it's not in the contract. Just want to make sure that this is a legit offer. Okay, so always make a confirmation email directly to the person who's actually giving that. Parang wag mo kasi pagdating dito sa America, you're gonna be ended up, but this person told me that I have 1,000. Pero pagdating ko, sabi ng employer, wala na yun. Like, what? So why did you offer me that, right? So that is misrepresentation. Um, and the employer has no accountability on that if you agreed on somebody na hindi nila empleyado. Okay, so if you guys did it outside the employer's jurisdiction, walang magagawa ang employer doon. Kasi kung hindi naman nila trabahador yon, then they cannot do anything about the headhunter, right? So always make sure that you're careful with these headhunters that you're dealing with. If they're saying that there is $1,000 signing bonus, but it's not in the contract, always make sure that you ask directly whoever signed that contract, okay? That email should be coming directly from the organization. Mas maganda dapat may organization don't name yung email nila. Okay? All right. So hopefully that answered your question. All right. Just recently found out that our employer abandoned us due to bankruptcy. Hey, hello. I've heard a lot of this. Steward Health here in the United States, is a known company here who filed bankruptcy. Okay, so just FYI to those people out there. My priority date is March 10, 2023, nearing visa bulletin. What if mag-card na po ako next month? Ano po steps ko? Okay, and current looking po ako ng new employer to recapture my priority date. Kaso nasa BPO po ako. Halos lahat unang tanong ng employer kung currently bedside ako. I can't really afford to lose my job. Okay, so well, thanks for this question. I'm gonna tell you that a lot of people are on the same boat as you right now. I can tell you that there probably are more than 300 nurses that is in the same boat as you. If there's a staffing company, there is probably thousands of you who are under the same boat. Okay, so what happens in here is if your priority date will be current, you can get here as fast as less than 1 year. Okay. Again, if your priority date in the visibility is current already, I'm gonna tell you that your ability to come to the United States can be in less than 1 year. Okay. As long as tuloy-tuloy yan and walang na-process. And I'm saying this based on experience that a lot of nurses who applied that are current got their visa approved in a year. I'm going to give you an example. Me. Okay. And a lot more in 2020, 21, and 22. So that is an example that you can get your visa approved in less than a year. So you need that fact. Keep that in mind. Okay. Now, what if BPO ka and hindi ka makaalis dyan? Okay. What I would recommend to you is, fine, stay in your BPO and save as much money as you can. And then next year, you can file if hospital ang gusto mo, then 1 year, sacrifice 1 year in being in the hospital with mababang sahod. Basta kumayod ka ngayon, 2025, kumayod ka ng kumayod na tumaas ang sahod mo, mag-overtime ka, mag-racket ka. Okay, when 2026 comes, bumalik ka sa bedside using that savings that you've used, and then find an employer, a hospital employer with good salary. By 2027, you can be here. Mabilis lang yan. Okay. However, if you don't want a hospital, there are a lot of nursing home that might take you if you're current bedside. Without current bedside, but current priority date. So the top picks in here, again, the top pick of an employer is number 1, with current priority date, number 2, with current bedside. If you don't have that both, okay, might as well at least have current priority date. Because if you have current priority date, there might be nursing homes that might take you. Ayaw ng mga yan na wala kang current priority date and wala kang current bedside. Walang kukuha sa'yo. Walang papansin sa'yo. So I recommend wait until your priority date becomes current and then start looking for a job. If nursing homes ang okay lang sa'yo. Nursing homes, long-term care, those are the things, those are the places that probably will hire you without experience. Rarely that hospitals will now look for you without experience unless they're willing to train you. Okay, which is very rare kasi mahal mag-train ng bagong nurse dito. So, mamimili ka lang, good employer hospital or high risk, the long-term care. Okay? So, just, if ang sagot dyan is, okay na sa akin ang long-term care, nursing home, I'll take the risk and mitigate the risk. Okay lang sa akin mababa ang sahod, basta makadating lang sa Amerika, then by all means, wait for your priority date to be current and then apply to nursing homes. Ang dami yung naghahanap ng basta current ang priority date mo. Go direct hire as well. Mas mabilis kasi diretso dun sa hospital. No, mas mataas ng konti ang sahod kaysa dun sa mga staffing na nursing home. Kasi nursing home na staffing, under, nakalagay dyan, prevailing wage, so medyo mababa. Might as well, leverage mo na current ang priority date mo, ikaw yung top pick ng nursing home. So, just look around for better opportunities, okay? Ngayon, kung gusto mo hospital, I recommend save as much as you can right now. Let it be na nandiyan ang priority date mo, pwede naman ma-recapture next year eh. Okay? And pag na-recapture next year, it's not gonna take a long time either. Basta current ang priority date. Okay? So that's my advice to you. Hopefully that will help. Okay? Let's go over the comments. Okay. John, thank you so much for joining me. Direct hiring po ako from home care facility. First time mag-hire ng company ng international nurse. Ako po yung first na ma-hire nila. Wala po akong contract pero bigyan lang po nila ako ng letter of agreement or offer letter. Charge nurse po ang position ko, 1 year free housing and car. Okay lang po ba yun? John, thank you very much for your message. Yes, I would agree with you that offer letters, it's common here in the United States, especially for nurses. Contracts rarely will be given to the nurses because a lot of nurses here in the United States are at will, okay, at will jobs, which means you can leave whenever you want without explanation, and the hospital or the facility or the employer can also terminate the offer or let you go without any explanation either. So it goes both ways. What I would recommend is review that job offer agreement, memorandum of agreement, whatever the words or the title is still a legal document that's stating your job offer. So that is okay. If you're charge nurse, if your position will be a charge nurse, I recommend you looking at the provisions of your prevailing wage because charge nurse, okay, has a level of administration. So I don't think you should be level 1 prevailing wage if you're going to take some responsibilities as an administration, some management or administration, because charge nurse means that you are knowledgeable or have expertise in what you're doing. So totally fine if you're going to go for a home care facility and you will be given a charge nurse position, but I recommend you negotiating on a higher level of prevailing wage as long as you have an experience. And 1 year free housing is not bad, one in a car, but you have to look at the fine prints of that job offer. What if you got terminated in 6 months, right? What if you got suspended without pay in 6 months? Who will pay for that 1 year housing in that car? Okay, you don't want na bago ka pa lang sa Amerika, basag na ang credit score mo because you breach your contract in the housing, you did not pay it because nawalan ka ng trabaho, or you abandoned the financing of the car because you're saying na wala akong trabaho. Okay, so you have to make sure that those things that you think about very well and review the fine prints of those offer. Who is paying for the house? Who's paying for the car? Whose name is in the financing of the car? Or whose name is in the lease of that housing? Okay, because you don't want to subject yourself. If you got terminated, no, wala ka namang ginagawang masama, feel lang ng amo mo na may terminate ka, para magbayad ka ng breach fee, na politika ka, right? You don't want to be in a situation like that. All right, so always make sure that you mitigate the risks, read the agreement properly. If you don't understand fully the agreement, always consult a legal advisor for that. Consult a lawyer to review it with you and identify the risks of it. Okay, that's my advice. So offers are not bad, But offers that you did not study and review and look at the fine prints, baka mapaso ka dyan. Okay? All right, so 12:17. Thank you very much for all those people joining. I have a couple more questions in here in the box, so we definitely will go over the time. Happy to answer that because there's a lot of questions, and I want to finish my inbox from those questions now. Let me see. Okay, this question here. I came here in the US as a J2 visa dependent of a teacher last 2022. I'm a government physician back in the Philippines. Hi, Doc. Hopefully, I'm answering your question here correctly. I took my NCLEX here in Las Vegas 2023. Oh, okay, so nasa US ka na. Pass and working already as an RN. Okay, so you're past your NCLEX, you're here in the US RN and working as an RN. Okay, so dito ka na since 2022. Okay, and you've been a nurse since 2023. Okay, with EAD for 2 years. My employer wants to sponsor me with green card. Company lawyer let me sign 9089 and they submitted the I-140 premium processing to USCIS last March 2025. Sadly, it got denied. All right, I'm so sorry, Doc, that this had happened to you. I want to let you know that it's not only you. You know, there's quite a lot of number of nurses who've gone through the same situation. Okay. Recently, I asked a law firm. They told me I need to sign again the 9089, and they will refile soon the I-140. Until right now, there is no update, or they will just tell me that they are still processing. Okay, now the question is, I am still working in the company currently. Should I just change my workplace or find other agencies? Will my priority date be retained since the I-140 got denied? Okay, and we are going back to Philippines next month, 2 years home rule, and I need to process my papers while I'm still here. I already have visa screen completed last January 2025. I need advice. Okay, quite a lengthy message. However, I'm picking up the problem here is I think our main concern is this one. Will your priority date be retained since it got denied? So this is definitely a great question for an immigration lawyer. Okay, not the law firm who petitioned you before, or not the law firm who's making you sign a new ETA 9089. Okay, I will recommend you to reach out to an immigration lawyer that is different from that company. And why? Because majority of the law firm who's affiliated with that company or the employer that you're working with will always act on the best interest of the employer. Okay? Because sila nagbabayad eh. Yung employer nagbabayad dyan. Ngayon, who will act on your best interest are the people, of course, who you pay. Kung hindi ko yung nagbabayad, then nasa best interest yung sa iba, okay? Nasa iba yung best interest nila. So, but they should be acting on your best interest too, right? But you cannot have two masters at the same time. So what I recommend to you is to choose your battles. Find a different immigration lawyer, okay? I would recommend to review your contract first. Go get an immigration lawyer. Have your current contract reviewed. Kasi for sure may pinilmahan ka dyan sa long-term care facility mo, which you have 2 years contract, no? Baka meron dyan naka-reinstate na hindi sila lang ang employer mo for EB3, no? For green card. So, again, first thing to do, find an immigration lawyer that can review your contract, your current contract right now with that employer, and make sure that immigration lawyer that you consult is not affiliated with that employer that you're working with. Mas maganda yung neutral lang siya. Okay? Wala siyang conflict of interest ang tawag dyan. Okay? So talk to them. Number one, have your contract reviewed. Kung okay lang na lumipat ka ng ibang agency, if the answer is yes, if you can find a different employer, then find a different employer. Now talk to the immigration lawyer of that new company and ask them, can you recapture my old priority date? Because it got denied, okay? The question is, a lot of I-140 might get denied or parang not issued, but a lot of the people that I've heard with may process na sinasabing ina-appeal yan ng lawyer. Pwedeng i-appeal Okay, yung mga denial. So, but then again, it's a lot more process. Sometimes the employer does not want to appeal anymore because it's more costly for lawyers, no? Or possibly baka sabihin na lang nila, mas mura na lang mag-refile tayo. Pero ang problema dun, priority date mo, babalik sa mas matagal, no? So, I'd recommend you reaching out again to an immigration lawyer that is not affiliated with the company you're with. If they're not being transparent with what the reason is and hindi ma-recapture, so I don't know. Pero one thing for sure I know is an I-140 filing that is fraudulent, it will never be approved. Okay, so pag fraudulent filing is not going to be approved now. So how will I know if it's fraudulent? I don't know. It's only the government knows if they're defrauding the system, or the company's defrauding the system now. So I don't know. I'm not a lawyer. But the only one who can catch that is, of course, the government who's reviewing it. Kung fraud yan, if the auditors of the government will come and check it, then fraud yung application, then denied, right? It's not going to be approved kasi fraud yung application. So, hopefully I was able to give you an answer, one step at a time. I know this is overwhelming and sad story, but this has happened to many people. And the best thing to do is get a immigration lawyer that is not affiliated with your employer or your agency, because these immigration lawyers that you're paying will have the best interest na sa'yo. Okay? So, walang conflict of interest. All right. So, next question is, I just want to ask po, I'm currently under S. Shh. And my priority date is near approaching, to be exact, February 27, 2023. I'm worried about my status because until now, they are still not providing me with an employer. All right, this is happening a lot to that company. So, I'm not gonna say what company that is. Okay, a lot of them, that company, it's problematic right now. Okay, hindi lang kayo isa, hindi lang kayo dalawa, hindi kayo 10, hindi kayo 50. But all I can say that agency, I've heard that there is a lot of changes. But just saying that needs to get themselves together. Okay, get their acts together. My advice to that agency who's doing job is get your acts together. Um, okay, so I asked them multiple times and tell them that no available OR at the moment, and my case is not complete. Document qualified na po ako last 2023 pa. Ano pa kaya pwedeng gawin? Kasi tagal ko po na inaantay mag-current PD ko, pero sa bagong rule ng US Embassy, pag incomplete paper, di makakapag-line ng embassy interview. All right, just want to say that this is not a new rule by the US Embassy, okay? This has been the rule ever since, that if your papers are incomplete, you will never be given a visa. So why go for embassy interview? Alam nyo na incomplete yung documents ninyo eh. Alam nyo RFE. Bakit pagpapadala pa kayong na nurse for embassy interview? As an agency that is an experienced one, that is incompetence. So if you're sending nurses to embassy interview with incomplete papers and they're going to be RFE, either you're incompetent or you're doing it intentionally to delay their case, because up to now, wala ka pang trabaho sa kanila. Okay? So just saying, my blood boils for this kind of agency, that they are so arrogant when it comes to being saying, oh, we're expert in this. But if you're expert, why are you sending people na walang papel tapos pa-embassy interview mo? Alam mo mga RFE yan eh. Paano mo sinabi na, nurse, mag-surgery tayo. It's going to be a big liver biopsy. But don't worry, we don't need to do type and screening. Parang, hello, doc? liver resection tayo. Liver resection ng surgery natin, or transplant surgery, or big surgery, or brain surgery, and you're telling me we're not gonna do type and screen for this patient? Alam mo, magbe-bleed yan no matter what, no? Kung liver resection yan, high risk mag-bleed yan. brain tumor resection, bilateral craniotomy, sabihan mo ko, don't worry about type and screen. And then you're gonna tell me, listen to me, I'm the expert. Hello? Hello? Doc, mag-isa ka mag-surgery, no? Mag-isa ka mag-surgery kasi kung ayaw mo mag-type and screen, hindi tayo maka-prepare ng blood. And if that patient bleeds, alam mo mamatay yan. Right? And then you're gonna have the arrogance to tell me you're the expert in this. I trust you. Well, trust is an overrated word for people who's not trustworthy. Okay. So again, for you, I'm so sorry that this has been happening to you. A lot of our nurses are in the same boat. Tens and hundreds of nurses have reached out to us due to this situation that they are not being sent to embassy interview because they don't have facility yet. Okay. My guidance for you is review all the marketing materials that were told to you, because if they promised to you that they have a job back then, and lahat yun nagsasabi dun sa marketing material nila or emails nila that congratulations, you have a job, but now you don't have a job, well, somebody's not saying the truth at the beginning. Okay? Did you really have a job for me? Or what you did was pulling? Because if you did pulling, you should have disclosed that to me. Right? So you cannot just pull nurses and tell to us, oh, hey, we have a job for you. And then we sign up for you because you said you have a job for you. We have a job for you and we're going to sponsor you right now. And then at the end, saying that there's no job for me, and what happened before was pooling lang, inipon mo lang kami just in case you have a job. So it might be a misrepresentation. No? So for me, that is a very blunt misrepresentation. If there is a difference of what is happening right now and what did they tell you before. So what are you gonna do if you're in this situation? Number one, I just recommend wait until your priority date becomes current, because as of now, walang magagawa eh. Kahit sino walang magagawa sa'yo. Kasi hindi current na priority date mo. Mag-aantay ka din eh. Okay, so technically, hindi ka ready. So wala kang mapaglalaban dyan. However, if you become ready and current na priority date mo, DQ ka na, and iniipit ka sa embassy interview kasi wala kang trabaho, and you have an experience right now, I recommend start looking for a new employer. Because if they promise you job before and right now there is no job, um, might be a possible case of breach of contract. No, if this is a breach of contract, have this reviewed by a lawyer, a U.S. lawyer, if there is a misrepresentation that had happened. Okay, and if gusto mo kumalas dyan, if you want to terminate your contract and you found a different employer who can sponsor you right now because this agency is not doing their job and promising you jobs, pero ang dami nyo pala nawala. Especially OR nurse ka. May hita pang OR position dito. Okay? So just saying that, decide what's best for you. Maybe that staffing agency does not have OR job, not necessarily true for other hospitals. Okay, maybe direct hire, maybe they have operating room jobs. So what you want to do is look around. Punta ka sa Indeed, punta ka sa Indeed, punta ka sa job sites in the United States, and just type there ORR and job. And if you see a lot of job postings there of ORR and job, it means that that staffing company might not have an account, but not necessarily the hospital has no job or the US has no OR job here. Okay? Again, no job by staffing company does not mean there's no job in the United States. There might be jobs, but sometimes the employer just need 1, 2, or 3 people or 4 people. They're not going to use a staffing company for that. They can just hire. But if they need like massive amount of people, then of course a staffing agency can help with that. Okay. Hopefully that answers your question. I know it's a little bit brutal when I say shh. Sometimes we have to say shh if they're really shh. Okay. Let me see. May magrereklamo na naman dyan. No, Miss K, you're being unprofessional. Well, at least I'm being, being here than having a lawsuit of human trafficking. I'd rather be here than me having a case of visa fraud or trafficking. So I don't know which is heavier, right? I think heavier in human trafficking case rather than unethical or unprofessional when I say shh. All right. Okay, ask ko lang po if need ko po ng copy ng release from an employer. Kasi po, nag-withdraw po yung sponsorship nila for me. Ang agency po is P. Shh, kindly enlighten me, ma'am. Okay. If the employer withdrawed or rescinded their offer and it's not your fault, you can always ask for a release letter. Ngayon, if a good employer will give you a release letter right away, that's okay. Good, no? At least or kahit pa minsan na walang actual release letter, but in just saying there that it's an email that's saying that you are we no longer have job offer for you and you are free to look for a new employer. Okay, and you have no legal obligation from us anymore. That is an okay. So print that email out and then submit that with a new resume. I mean, a resume that you're going to submit to a new employer. Okay, release letter is very important, for peace of mind. And also, a lot of good employers are asking for release letters because they want to make sure that you're just not jumping ship or being unethical and illegal or breaching your contract. No, so because if you're breaching your contract, of course, that's a red flag already for that new employer not to take you. Okay, because if you did it once, maybe you can do it twice, right? So that's why release letter is very important because it will give a peace of mind not only for you na hindi ka habulin ng previous employer, but also it gives a peace of mind to the new employer that they are hiring someone who is, eligible talaga and is not breaching the contract, okay, somewhere else. So again, it is very good thing to have. If the employer is not giving you a release letter, you can also make an email directly to them saying, I just want to confirm that I no longer have legal obligations to you, that you have terminated my contract without a cause. Okay, without cause, yun yung tawag doon, no? Without cause. Say EAUSE, without cause, which means walang ginagawa walang reason, but because it's an at-will contract, they just want to terminate the contract because maybe they don't need anymore. Okay, so even an email will suffice. However, if the agency or the employer is not giving you a release letter, you can make one too. Gawa ka sa Word document, this is may mga website dyan on how to get a release letter. It's a mutual agreement that I am free from all legal obligations to you, and then you ask them to sign, and then you sign as well. Okay, so that's another option. And another option is kung wala talaga, pinapahirapan ka, and even the employer or the agency is like threatening, I would recommend you reach out to a lawyer who can help you review your situation, and then the lawyer can also ask. The lawyer can also help you in creating an email to that person to release you, to give you a mutual release letter. Or the lawyer can also give you a letter or help you on how to formulate a letter of release. Okay, so again, if you are having a hard time getting a release letter and then walang tumatanggap sa'yo kasi wala kang release letter, the best option there is now consult a lawyer who can help and guide you how to create a release letter. Or sometimes they can even go to that agency and sila na yung diretso magsasabi. Okay, the lawyer can do that. You don't even need to go to, using a lawyer in the United States, it's not like, in the US na, pag nag-lawyer up ka, may demanda ka. No, it's not like that. Lawyers can be very helpful, especially if there is dispute. Okay, can be used for dispute resolutions. Okay, or mediation. So again, if you're having a hard time getting a release letter, sometimes it's very helpful to secure the professional help of the lawyers. Okay, US lawyer mas okay if US employer yan. I signed po sa isang direct agency which is Legacy. I don't know them. And they claim po na file daw po nila PD I-140 ko later June last year. Last week, this year, they updated me na wala daw po natanggap na receipt from USCIS. Upon checking daw po, hindi na-file ang PD ko. Okay, your priority, just to clarify this, no, for someone who sent me this message, priority date is not being filed. However, priority date is given by the USCIS as a number, usually when they receive your application for I-140. Usually magkapareho ng date yan eh. Yung receipt notice date mo, tsaka yung priority date mo, usually is the same date. Okay, so it's not when the company sent it for USCIS, is when actually the USCIS received it and actually saw it. Okay, and that is most likely your receipt date or prior and similar to the priority date, almost the same on priority date. Okay, if this is initial filing. Um, so, may follow-up siyang sentence. Out of 40 cases, ako lang daw po yung hindi na-file. When I asked them what happened, hindi po din nila masagot. They want me to sign another contract since yung PWD daw was expired. They want me to sign another contract sa ibang facility. Same offer, same content or contract, but different facility. I just want to know your insight po. Sana ma'am, I'm confused and heartbroken. Feeling ko po hindi po para sa akin o kailangan ko ba ituloy. Please enlighten me. Salamat po. Okay, I'm so sorry that this is happening to you. And again, a lot of nurses are under the same boat with you. The first thing I always tell them, before you sign any contract or new agreement, have it reviewed first, okay? Review mo maigi. Can they change contracts, no? What are the things that they change? Is this a big change? No. So I'm not gonna be surprised if there is a new prevailing wage now. Maybe the initial file because they never filed your I-140 before. So maybe their prevailing wage has expired already, which is true. But the question is, do you need to stay with them? Okay, if you're heartbroken and confused and you lost trust in them, may sinasabi nga dito fool me once, shame on you. Diba? Fool me twice, shame on me. Right? So nasa sa'yo yan. Do you still want to stay with them or not? Because if the answer is no, then you don't need to stay with them as long as your contract says that. Okay? But if the contract says that they can change multiple times, well, they can change, but not necessarily agree ka dun. Okay? So always have it reviewed. It's not a straight answer to sign that. I would not recommend signing it unless you understand the provisions of it. Or if this is a different facility, different location, is this even allowed in your original contract that they can do that? Right? If the answer is no, then they should follow the old one. Okay? Maybe they can just give you the same contract, but different salary. But again, you have to look at word by word differences of the new offer. If there is a new offer and you're not happy with the new location, it's something that you don't need to agree if it doesn't allow them flexibility of changing your location before. Okay. The pro of that naman is the PWD before is mas mura yan kaysa the PWD sa later date. Okay? So, mas tataas yung prevailing wage determination on a later date. Okay? Alright. Next question. Nahihirapan po kasi ako mag-apply ngayon kasi galing po ako sa TISH. Dati akong agency. Umabot po sila sa pag-file ng I-140 and then hanggang sa magkaroon po ng I-797 Notice of Action. Ngayon po, umalis ako sa agency nila for the reason na nagbago yung contract gawa ni Health Trust na gagawin niyang floaters ang dialysis nurse. Okay? Ngayon po, nahirapan po ako mag-apply kasi ang reason po ng ibang agency naka-premium processing po yung PD na nasimula ng TR. I did not blur that out. TRS. Okay, sorry ko, right? Bakit po kaya hindi ako tinatanggap sa ibang agency dahil sa premium processing ng PD? Okay, so again, let's go over your question again. Nahirapan kang mag-apply looks like you're looking for a new agency to recapture you, right? So, ngayon, nahihirapan ka because hindi tinatanggap kasi naka-premium processing. So, I want to know if this application was done recently, just recently, no? Kasi merong, I don't know if this is, if recently ka lang nag-file niya, naka-premium processing, and you applied that like early this month, there should be a result right now. Most likely, that's why the agency is not picking you up because your I-140 is not approved yet, no. Um, so they don't know, the new agency might not understand where are you in the process. So for me, I don't understand, where are you in the process? Are you in the process? Are you approved already of your I-140 or still in the process? Because if premium processing, it usually just takes 14 days for I-140 approval. Okay, for is less than a month. If there are extra things that needs to be submitted, but if you are telling me that your agency, the agency, filed your I-140 last year, right, and then now they're changing your contract, and let's say approved na yung I-140 mo, no, and they're changing your contract and you're not agreeing and you want to change your agency, um, well, depends dyan, no? Are you breaching your contract? First, no agency will take you na kakapasa pa lang ng I-140 mo and then you are breaching the other contract, no? Na wala kang release letter. So I think the best thing to do here, if you're not accepting the new terms of the new employer, kasi now gagawin kang float nurse, no? Health Trust is a known staffing ng HCA dito sa United States, okay? So they have a lot of facilities, and if they're gonna change you to floater and you were a dialysis nurse before, that's kind of like not really the way how things go, okay? Because if you're the dialysis nurse and then all of a sudden you're floater, it might put your license to risk kasi that's a very different situation. Floaters are mainly people with experience. Okay? Kasi ako, I get floated too. And I'm not gonna float into a new place where it's a new country, it's a new culture, it's a new language, and I'm not comfortable, it's a new setting. Most likely that I will make a mistake is very high. Okay, so I understand your sentiment that you don't want to stay with this agency. However, the first thing you should do if you don't want to stay with the same agency is consult a lawyer who will review your case, a U.S. lawyer. Okay, it will only cost you about $200 to $500. I'm saying only because only that, rather than you paying a breach fee of thousands if that agency goes after you. Okay, especially if they're premium processed pa yan. So if premium process yan, it's 2,800 right out the door. So that's why I'm saying just get a lawyer who will review your case for only 250 to 500, because 2,800 is a very expensive money. Okay, so on that context, but not that I'm underestimating that money, because I'm sure it's very hard to earn that money in the Philippines. What I'm saying is, versus, in the comparison or the context of pag hinabol ka ng TISH agency mo for breach of contract before you can get a release letter, that's more money. Okay, so please have your contract reviewed first if you can leave your current employer or your agency, um, and then get a release letter, and then look for a new company who will petition you as a dialysis nurse, and show your release letter. That's the best way to do that. Okay. All right. Thank you everyone for joining. And is there any way na makapag-endorse ng license sa Cali without SSN po? Well, California requires you to actually have an active social security number before they can activate. You can start the endorsement. However, there is no activation yet until your social security comes in. No? So a lot of people, they just start endorsing because it's a lengthy process, and they're just waiting for them to get here for social security. There is also rumors, okay, that people can apply for ITIN, okay? There is always a rumor for that hey, I'll apply for ITIN because I'm good. I can be in America with activated license. Sorry. Okay, just saying, if you apply for ITIN is purposely for people who needs to file taxes. Okay? Yun lang ang nakalagay na reason in the United States website of the IRS, okay? So IRS clearly states that the ITIN is for people who needs to file taxes or declare taxes, and they don't have a social security. If your purpose is getting an ITIN, Just to activate a license, I'd make sure that I prepare a lot of money just in case I get audited by IRS or you know, or get a problem into that. So I will have up money to pay a lawyer. Okay, just in case. So I'm not scaring you, but I'm saying here in the United States, a lot the government makes a lot of money for you making mistakes. Just to say that, okay? That's why there's called penalties. It doesn't mean that it's there for you to use. It means you are very free to use it without accountability and being irresponsible for it, okay? So I'm just saying that the government is not gonna tell you what you shouldn't be doing, okay? But the government is telling you this is the only purpose for that. Ngayon, if they found out that you're using for other things, well, I don't guarantee that you will have a, I can guarantee that this is no accountability, okay, if you want to go that route. However, if you're using things that it's not for that, and the government clearly states that this is not for this and this is only for that, doesn't mean that you can use it, you will use it. Okay? This is not Philippines na kung makakalusot, lulusot. Huwag niyong dalhin yan dito, right? But you this, Etlin, this is not something that I don't recommend. It's not, I mean, I recommend you doing the right thing. The right thing is endorse it, start the endorsement processing, fine, but you use your social security to activate it, okay? And there's a lot of processing will help you on that. iPads is very good and they're very up to date with this processing. Miss Jean is very helpful. Okay, I'm not endorsing any company here, but I'm just saying that there are companies out there that you can use and utilize to assist you to expedite or you know to help you with the process na hindi mo alam and the legal way. Okay. All right, Jessica. Hi, Miss Kaye. Is it guaranteed that when your passport is taken by the immigration officer, it gets approved? When I did my interview, I wasn't able to provide my Philippine PRC license because I accidentally left it in the Philippines. However, I was able to provide my board certificate from the Philippines. The immigration officer told me that they will return my document after 10 days. And if they need to the PRC license, they will notify me. It's going to be 10 days tomorrow, but I haven't received it. Jessa, well, congratulations for getting to the embassy interview. You know, that's one thing, right? One milestone. Um, we, you know, there's no guarantee all the time. However, there is always a thing called if they need more documents that you need to submit, then you will have to submit it. Okay, so it's not always 100% that if they get it, they get your passport that it's approved already, right? So there's no it's not 100% guarantee. However, there are instances that na they will need more if they seem that they need to get more information from you. Okay, so but I recommend you just wait. Okay, I think just wait. It's just one more day. I know it's very thrilling and suspense. It's a great thing to have, but majority of people who got their passports taken by the immigration officer were actually approved. Okay, so a lot of them, I'm not saying all of them. Okay, but also there's a thing called they were issued a visa already and also got revoked, right? So there's also that thing, but the rate of that is very small amount of people who did that because there were problem with their documents and was later caught by the embassy. Okay, so very minimal. Mas pinakamadami, the rate of success is high. Okay, so don't stress yourself too much. You still have one day to wait. Matulog ka and just relax. You know, there are things that you don't need to worry and stress, and those are the things that you call you have no control. If you have no control on those things, don't stress too much on that. Okay, the high likely it will be approved is high, but there is also small chance that it will not. So just pray. Okay, just pray that it will be you who will be approved. Okay, so thank you so much everyone for joining me. This is a very lengthy discussion. I hope you learned a lot, and I appreciate you joining me today on this live webinar. I have more questions in my inbox. I promise I'll get them. I'll get to it and I'll let you know if I'll be adding it to my next live stream. So yung mga gusto magpa-anonymous because of XYZ reason, feel free to message me anonymously if those situations are sensitive or you don't want to express your identity because of XYZ reason, okay? I think may pahabol na question, no? Camille, I'm an OR nurse, but I'm looking for agencies to deploy in California since I have my relatives living there. I tried to apply on different reputable agencies pero wala pong opening for OR, Med-Surg, ICU, meron for Cali. Meron po other agency na nagde-deploy po sa California but New God RN ICU program po ang offer. Meron din po other agency nag-offer ng OR nurse position but in other states po. Mas advisable po ba mag-apply na lang po sa other state and the transfer to Cali? Well, I am a OR nurse, and I can tell you that OR is the least turnover when it comes to nurses. No, if sabihin ang least turnover, a lot of American nurses likes to stay in the OR. Similar situation when it comes to PACU. Similar situation when it comes to endoscopy nurses, ambulatory surgery nurses. There's least turnover in there, like clinic nurses, least turnover. Okay, so what I'm saying to you, if it's least turnover, not a lot of these jobs will be open to staffing agencies because staffing agencies are expensive, right? So if I'm going to use a staffing agency, I might as well, parang ano na to pakyawan ng tawag dito. So pakyawan ng order, which means I want to make sure that I'm spending money on pakyawan, no, bulk hiring, which means yun yung mga med surgeon ICU and ER nurses, no? And also, there's a factor of California, which is a highly desirable location for nurses because of their protection for nurses, their overtime laws, unions. So um, there's a lot of opportunities for California. Unfortunately, it is harder to get in because it's very competitive. If everybody wants to go to that place, then it's harder to get in. So it's like coming to the United States. No, it's easier to go somewhere else rather than United States because there is high. It's the more desired location for nurses, compared in other countries. And of course, why is it highly desired for Filipino nurses? Because of the permanent residency program of the United States. So in some other countries, you're not given permanent resident until you meet XYZ time, right? Or years. But in the United States, there is a demand or desire for immigrations or immigrant nurses because we are being given the residency benefit, which not a lot of countries are offering that. Okay, so again, number one, it's hard to go as a Filipino nurse because again, US is that high demand. Now you're going to California, which is highly desired. And number three, you're going to a specialty na high desired as well ng mga Americans. So majority of these places that will hire the most are those areas or specialties that not a lot of people stay longer. Okay, that being said, am I saying that there's no OR job here in the United States? The answer is there are jobs here in the United States. It's just harder to find. So if it's harder to find and you really want that and hindi ka flexible, the next best alternative there is go direct hire and look at those hospitals because a lot of these hospitals who's hiring one or two or three not necessarily need, to go through a Philippine agency because they can go higher, without tying up with a Philippine agency in the Philippines because less than 10 naman ang hinahire nila, okay, or less than 5. So again, you can see if those direct hire will allow you to be sponsored. Alternatively, if you can find anything, the next best alternative there is, be flexible. If you really like OR, open your door to other states. Okay? Now, if the other states still say no, then the next flexibility there is open your situation to a different specialty. Unfortunately, the opportunities are more in med-surg and ICU. If you want the easy pathway, then med-surg, ICU, psych are your options. Dialysis also, because a lot of nurses there they don't last long. Okay, I mean, they don't. I mean, don't say they don't last long. I didn't mean they die. Well, it's well, nakakamatay talaga yung med surge, no? Na 1 to 30 ng patients, right? So they don't last. What I mean by they don't last is they don't stay that long in those positions. Okay, I didn't mean to say med surge nurses dies, but I'm just saying that a lot of these nurses they don't stay, But if they stay long, they can possibly die too, right? So I'm just saying that the turnover is faster in those specialties. Okay. Well, there's more questions coming in. Right? Kim, thanks for joining. Hello po. If licensed NCLEX passer currently in the Philippines, she has an ongoing EB3 visa petition, but due to retrogression, the process is taking longer than expected. We learned that she might be eligible to apply for an F1 student visa as temporary option. If she applies for and gets an F1 visa, what do you think will happen? What are the possible consequences and benefits of this path while waiting for her EB3 to become current? Okay, number one, Kim, thank you for sending this. Number one, what is the contract that that person signed? If that person signed a contract that's saying na sila lang yung immigration processor, then he might not be able to entertain that F1 visa. Okay? So you have to look at the contract first. Okay? If that person who signed the EB3 visa petition sign that clause, may clause dyan na nakalagay that sila lang dapat yung agency na pupuntahan nila for immigration purposes, okay? If walang nakalagay dyan, no, the next question is, well, the process is taking longer than expected. Actually, the process is usual, okay? The process right now is normal retrogression pre-pandemic. Usually 2 to 3 years yan. Even when I was nursing back in 2003, 2004, everybody knows that the process to come to the United States will take 2 to 3 years, okay? And then biglang nag-current, mas mapabilis, no? But back then, we all know that 2 to 3 years is the normal process in the US. So this is a normal time frame. Now you're talking about 6 years, then I would agree with you that the process is taking longer than expected, no? However, if you are going to F1 visa, please look at the the headlines. I posted this yesterday. Look at that. Just look at the US headlines. The government is pausing all F1 visa interviews sa embassy. Okay, if you think this is a temporary option, that option is very shady right now. That option is very uncertain right now because the US government has released a statement that they're instructing there was a news, sorry, not that the government has released a statement, but I'm telling you, there is a news that the US embassies were told to pause F1 visa interviews. Okay. So what are pros and cons of this? It's right now is full of cons. Okay. And an F1 visa, really, even if without the pause, you have to look at that provisions because a lot of this F1 visa that is being offered to nurses that I have reviewed is number one, you don't know which schools you're gonna go. Number two, you don't know what the reputation of the school is. Number three, if they're advertising it as STEM, nursing is not a STEM in the United States. Okay, so it's not going to be a nursing degree. Okay, so if yung gusto mo lang temporary option to come here, temporary ka lang eh. So H1B visa might be the best option because the intent is of the H1B is to come here and pwede siyang ma-renew, no? So ma-renew. But if the F1 visa, which is really temporary option, hindi siya aligned dun sa EB3 which has permanent intention. Okay, so baka ma-deny ka pa dyan. Kasi now, may tinatawag na dual intent dito. So dual intent, pwede naman na H1B ka and then meron kang current visa na EB3 processing. Pwede yon. Pero kunwari temporary visa, tourist ka, may ongoing ka na EB3 which is permanent intention and then meron kang tourist visa niya apply, baka ma-decline ka rin. Kasi ang tourist visa is temporary intent. F1 visa is similar na temporary intent lang din yan. So, there is a risk that you might be declined. You know, this is a good question to ask your immigration lawyer and also review your contract first. Okay, Kim, I know a lot of people wants to come here as fast as they can, and I'm telling you the fastest you can come here are to if you're having experiences. Get the H1B visa, okay? That is the most common, fastest way to come here legally, okay? So hopefully that is Oh, you mentioned to me H1. Oh, pwede po pala H1B then EB3. Yes, a lot of nurses who are here on H1B, they're concurrently being approved. Approved EB3 petitions, okay? So, pero kung hindi pa current, then of course, wala silang visa. Pwedeng ma-approve yung I-140, pero hindi current yung kanilang, current yung kanilang priority date. So they still have to wait for visa, no? So, but they're legally staying here as an H-1B. Yun lang, pag pwede nilang i-renew yan pag na-expire yung H-1B. So, renewable yung H-1B. Okay? But F1 is a very problematic if you already have an EB3 visa. Okay, so please seek consultation with the immigration lawyers who will be filing your case. They're the best help for you guys, and they will look at your also your situation. It's a case-to-case basis. I'm not an immigration lawyer, but of course, based from all the feedbacks and based from my experience, who've been working beside people who are H-1B visa, they've been concurrently applied EB3 visa, and those are okay. Okay, and eventually they become EB3 green card holders. Nandito. Okay, so hopefully that is going to be helpful. Spira, how long is it gonna take to switch from H1 to EN? I don't know EN3. Sorry, Spira. Sorry, I don't know EN3. If you're pertaining to EB3, how long it's gonna take a switch dependent on the people who's filing your case and the current visa bulletin. Okay, if the EB3 is not current, then it will have to wait. There's no actual number there. It will be all based on when did your employer file, what is your priority date, and what's the current visa bulletin right now. Okay, so right now there's a retrogression, so it might take more than 2 to 3 years. No, depends on the retrogression. Okay. Oh, Spira verified it EB3. Okay, so again, there's no number there, but if it's an EB3, you will have to wait for that current visa bulletin. Okay. Again, everybody knows that I'm a registered nurse. I'm not a immigration lawyer. I am not a professional financial advisor. However, the feedbacks that I get from everyone here and the experiences that we get from LEFORA and shared cohort experiences are there. I'm passing this information to you with also the verification of course, looking into the USCIS guidance. Again, this is Kay Mendoza from your LEFORA, Filipino Nurse to US. Feel free to invite your friends. Feel free to let them join LEFORA, your family, your friends who you think you can benefit from the information that we share in the group. Again, social media should not be a reliable, should not be your only source of information. If you hear something from us, I please recommend you do your due diligence, and make sure that you are actually looking at the facts. If you hear something from us, you don't need to follow our advisor. I don't recommend you following advices here without actually fact checking. Please, if you hear my advice here, go and fact check and look at the information and the USCIS guidance, the NVC, the embassy websites, and please inquire with your immigration lawyers, okay? It is the job of the immigration lawyers to act on the best interest of course, kung sino yung nagbabayad sa kanila, right? And of course, file what is accordingly appropriate. However, hindi illegal to withhold information from you. Just saying. Withholding information from you because it will not benefit them that much is not illegal. Right? So just saying that, but again, lawyers, immigration lawyers have a fiduciary duty like nurses to always do the most ethical possible way, to give you the best ethical possible answers. Okay, so again, like us doctors and nurses, lawyers have fiduciary duties as well. So please, if you have questions, make sure you ask them, okay? And they're the best guidance for this, okay? Thank you very much and hope to see you on our next streaming. And this is a long streaming. Hopefully you get some information that will help you here. Bye-bye.